Hello. This week's Torah portion is Tazria. It deals with ritual purity and impurity and how the kohen or priest must address these conditions. Here's a sample text. Quote, "If a person's flesh has an inflammation, it shall be shown to the kohen. The kohen shall look at it, and if its appearance is lower than the skin and its hair has turned white, the kohen shall pronounce him unclean. It is tzara'at, leprosy. But if the kohen looks at it and it does not contain white hair, nor does it appear to be lower than the skin, and it is dim, the kohen shall quarantine him for 7 days. If it spreads, the kohen shall pronounce him unclean. It is a lesion. But if it does not spread, it is scar tissue, and the kohen shall pronounce him clean." Unquote. Notice that the kohen is left, right, and center in this portion. In fact, the word kohen is repeated 102 times, I counted them, in this portion and its companion portion, Metzora, more than in any other portions. So let's talk about Kohanim today. Who are the Kohanim? Well, after the exodus from Egypt, God appoints Aaron, brother of Moses, as high priest, and makes him the progenitor of a patrilineal line of priests, all from the tribe of Levi. Quote, "I will sanctify Aaron and his sons to minister to me in the priest's office. And then I will dwell among the children of Israel, and I will be their God. By statute I have given this task to Aaron the priest and to his sons forever." Unquote. The priests were the only ones empowered to offer sacrifices, first in the portable tabernacle, then in the temple in Jerusalem. They were assisted by the Leviim, the Levites, also from the tribe of Levi, who sang psalms, played musical instruments, and handled the logistics. Of all the tribes of Israel, the tribe of Levi was the only one that did not get territory when they reached the Promised Land. Not only that, but they were not compensated for their services. However, they did eat some of the meat of the sacrifices and were allowed to receive certain gifts such as grain, oil, bread, fruit, animals, a portion of the harvest, sheep shearings, some unclaimed inheritance, and the 5 silver shekels in exchange for redeeming the firstborn son 30 days after birth in the ceremony of Pidyon Haben. The Kohanim were also responsible for some health matters, as in our portion, and were the final arbiters of all ritual matters. They were also the teachers of Torah to the people and participated in judging them. The Torah says, "And the Lord spoke to Aaron the high priest, saying, You must teach the people of Israel all the statutes which the Lord has spoken to them through Moses." And Moses said to God, "The Levites shall teach Jacob your judgments and Israel your Torah." God does not say that only the Kohanim could teach Torah or judge people. So in time, meritocracy replaced aristocracy. Spiritual leadership became something to be acquired with study and had to be deserved. It was not a birthright. The Kohanim blessed the congregation with the priestly blessing, Birkat Kohanim, the only part of the Jewish liturgy that must be said in Hebrew. Everything else can be said in translation. The Torah says, quote, "And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to Aaron and his sons, saying, You shall bless the people of Israel, saying to them, May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make the light of his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace." Unquote. That blessing may also be said by others, such as parents blessing their children on Shabbat Eve, or by rabbis from the pulpits. This blessing is called duchening. Traditional Ashkenazic Jews do it on the holidays, but Sephardic Jews do it every Shabbat as well, and even daily, as was done in the synagogue of my youth in Cairo, Egypt. The Kohanim stood and faced the congregation, arms held outwards, hands and fingers in a specific formation, swaying back and forth, heads covered with their talitot as they intoned the blessings. I remember we were not supposed to look at them because the divine light they focused with their fingers could blind us. I remember shivers going down my spine as a child. Ritual is powerful. Live long and prosper. Once I went to a Sephardic service in Maryland with a friend who was a kohen. We entered the sanctuary as the Kohanim were blessing the congregation. The Gabbai asked if we were Kohanim. My friend said he was, and he was promptly ushered out. A kohen should not bless another kohen if it can be avoided. The first aliyah during the Torah service must go to a kohen. Let's hear the background for that ruling directly from the Talmud. Mishnah. The following rules were laid down in the interest of peace. A kohen is called up first to read the Torah, and after him a Levite, and then a lay Jew. The Gemara says, why is a kohen called first? Rabbi Matena said, because the Torah says, and Moses wrote this law and gave it to the Kohanim, the sons of Levi. Now, we know that the Kohanim are the sons of Levi, so why does the Torah tell us that? What it means, therefore, is that the Kohanim are first, and then the Levites. Abaye said to Rav Yosef, is this rule only rabbinic and only in the interest of peace, so people would not fight about who gets to read first? Or does it derive from the Torah? He answered, it does derive from the Torah, but its purpose is to maintain peace. But the whole Torah is also for the purpose of promoting peace, as it is written, quote, her ways are ways of pleasantness, and all her paths are peace. No, said Abaye, a Kohen might want to defer to a teacher who is not a Kohen, and this might be misunderstood and lead to quarreling. Abaye further said, if there is no Levite present, then a Kohen reads in his place. An objection was raised. Is that so? Has not Rabbi Yohanan said that one Kohen should not read after another Kohen because this might cast suspicion on the legitimacy of the first Kohen? Abaye said, what I meant to say was that the same Kohen should read in place of the Levites. Unquote. The Talmud actually established a strict hierarchy in Israel for protocol purposes. At the very top is the scholar. The scholar even comes before the king. Why? The Talmud answers, quote, a scholar takes precedent over a king of Israel, because if a scholar dies, there is no one to replace him. But if a king of Israel dies, anybody in Israel is eligible to replace him. Unquote. After the king comes the high priest, the Kohen Gadol, then the prophets, then lower-level priests, then Levites, then ordinary Jews, then bastards. However, the Talmud adds, but if a bastard is a scholar, he takes precedence over an ignorant high priest. The Kohanim had and still have many restrictions. First, they must not come in contact with dead bodies. So they cannot visit cemeteries except for the burial of close relatives. The Torah says, quote, and the Lord said to Moses, speak to the priests, the sons of Aaron, and say to them, none of you shall defile himself for the dead among his people, except for his kin. Unquote. Also, a Kohen may not marry a convert, or a divorced woman, or a harlot, a zonah, or a levirate widow, a halutza, or a woman born of a Kohen, and a woman forbidden to a Kohen, halala. The high priest of temple days could also not marry a widow or a non-virgin either. Note that in Jewish law, a virgin is a woman who has not had vaginal intercourse, although she may have engaged in other sexual activities. So a question popped in my mind. If a Kohen divorces his wife, is he allowed to marry her again? Answer, no, he is not. You cannot become a Kohen. You must be born one. You may know the story of the man who went to a rabbi and asked him, Rabbi, I want you to make me a Kohen. The rabbi said, absolutely impossible. The man insists, it's very important to me. I'll give $100,000 to your shul and $50,000 to you personally if you make me a Kohen. The rabbi asks, why is it so important to you to become a Kohen? The man answers, because my grandfather was a Kohen and my father was a Kohen, and so I want to be a Kohen also. So the rabbi says, it's a deal. Now, let's bring science in. If all of today's Kohanim really descend from a single man, Aaron, this should be reflected in their Y chromosomes. Sure enough, it is. DNA testing revealed that half of today's Kohanim have some specific genetic markers in common, but only 5% of Jews who are not Kohanim have those same markers. Evidently, we keep our traditions and Kohanim more than others. Kohen or Cohen is the most common surname for Kohanim. It is also the most common Jewish surname, period. Today's Kohanim are also named Cohen, Khan, Kun, Cain, Kahana, Kaplan, Chaplain, Katz. Katz stands for Kohen Tzedek, righteous priests. Kogan, Kaganovich, Kunia, Korn, Conway, Azulai, Duek, Rappaport, and many others. After the destruction of the Second Temple, the main role of the priests, offering sacrifices, could no longer be fulfilled. In traditional Judaism, priests still retains Duchening, Pidyon Haben, and First Aliyah, and all the restrictions on their behavior. They can teach Torah only by virtue of their merits and study, not as a birthright, same as all other Jews. Reform Judaism does not give them any recognition at all. Our tradition says that when the Messiah comes and rebuilds the temple, the monarchy and the priesthood will be reinstituted. You will find prayers to that effect in any Orthodox Siddur. Would this be good? Isn't our current meritocratic system better than any aristocracy based on birthright? From our vantage point as Americans, the answer can only be yes. But nevertheless, people feel a certain satisfaction in elevating some individuals above the rest, so they can look up to them, even if their elevation is not earned. It makes them feel part of something larger than themselves. They love the associated pomp and circumstance. How else can we explain the great fascination found in the US for foreign royal families, especially if they happen to be British? It is important to feel that you're special from birth, because it gives you an additional impetus to make your life worthwhile. And when you do make your life worthwhile, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The Torah tells us that all Jews were chosen by God. This feeling that we are put on earth for a mission has enabled us to accomplish much good for the benefit of mankind. Would that everybody found ways within his own tradition to make himself feel special and work for the common good. Shabbat Shalom.